Hi guys, Editing Missy here. I just wanted to pop in and say excuse all of the fidgeting and unnecessary moving around. It was the end of the evening. I had a headache and I really was just trying to get everything done for the day that was on my list. So please just excuse all of the unnecessary moving around and playing in the hair. Thanks guys. Hi guys. So it's basically the end of the evening, kind of. It's like 7 o'clock or somewhere in that area. I've finished everything I wanted to get done for the day. So it was just running some errands, getting some things for Kayon, getting a couple of groceries, finishing up, just tidying up some things, putting things away. And I just need to finish folding up these clothes. So I did want to go ahead and discuss why I changed doctors just after I found out I was pregnant. So I think if you watched the other two videos prior to this, you know that I found out I was pregnant the same day I was meeting my doctor. So that day, when I had taken a pregnancy test, it was positive. It looked positive. I wasn't sure how accurate it was. I wasn't sure how old the test was. I stopped at the store on my way to the doctor's office and I picked up another pregnancy test. When I got to the doctor's office, I gave him all the information and they said, okay, they were gonna do a urine test as well. I asked the nurse if I could see the results of their urine test. I just kind of wanted to compare it to mine. That wasn't something I had ever done in the past. I'm really not even sure why I wanted to do that this time, but I did. So I took my test and it was, and then I just kind of put it away because, I needed to go wait for the doctor. So I hadn't looked at it yet. I didn't have time to, sit in the bathroom for 5 minutes or however long it was to wait for the results. So I went in, I put the sample in the little window, whatever. And the nurse came in. She did the test right in front of me. And as soon as she dipped the test, she showed it to me. So it hadn't even necessarily finished like processing. And she showed me the test. And she said, it's negative. She didn't wait. So I was like, okay, I knew that I didn't say anything else. I left it alone at that point because I actually wanted to look at my test. So she put her test, the hospital's test, under like a little napkin or paper towel or something. And she left out to go, I guess, let the doctor know that I was ready and to let me like derobe. So I looked at the test, of course, and it was at the doctor's test and it was very clearly positive. So I didn't say anything about it. I then also looked at my test that I brought with me and it was very clearly positive. So I still said nothing. The doctor comes in, he does the exam and he says that they're gonna do blood work. So I said, okay. I asked him if he was going to do, check my progesterone levels as well. He said he would do that on the second blood draw. I didn't really like that, but at that time I was like, okay, fine. I'm not gonna make a fuss about this. So he told me that it could take up to 5 to 7 days for the results to come back for my HCG levels. And I found that a bit odd because it had never taken so long before. Out of all of the other pregnancy tests or times that I had been pregnant, there was a lot of blood draws. Particularly the last two pregnancies, I was getting my blood drawn every 2 to 3 days for like 2 to 3 months because my levels were like up and down. So until they went down to basically nothing, I was getting my blood drawn every 2 to 3 days. So I found it odd that it could take that long. Normally I had my results back the same day, if not the very next day. this was a new doctor, so I was like, okay, you know, fine if that's how things are done here. I got my blood drawn, and I heard back from them about 5 days later, and 5 business days. So it was actually a little longer. My HCG levels were 19. So the nurse emailed me or sent me a message like on the little system that they use and said, no, I'm sorry. The doctor messaged me on the system that they use. And he said that he made a point to say that my levels were really low and they were only slightly elevated. And that he wanted me to go in for a second blood draw. So that was fine. I went to a different location this time. I went to a different Wellstar, and I asked the lab tech like how long it would take for my results to come back. She said a day or two. So I said, okay, great. At this point, I knew I wasn't keeping him as a doctor. So I was looking around for new doctors. So she recommended the doctors at that hospital. It was 3 women, which wasn't necessarily good or bad for me. My previous 2 doctors were both men, and I liked them a lot, so that was fine either way. So I scheduled an appointment with them, but the appointment wasn't for a while. It wasn't for at least 3 weeks away. I think it may have been a little more than that. So I did keep all of my other appointments with the first doctor at that time. I got the second blood draw, and the results came back in about 2 days. My levels had went up to 800, I believe, 8 something. I asked the lab tech if she also had an order to test my progesterone, and she didn't. I was a little annoyed about that because, again, he said he would be testing it on the second blood draw. And I thought, okay, well, maybe he forgot. Not sure why he would have forgotten. I mean, even if that wasn't something that we discussed, I would think that all things considered that he would have just in general wanted to test my progesterone levels. So the lab tech took enough blood, and she said for me to email my doctor right away and ask if they could put an order in for my progesterone levels to be checked, and then she would already have the sample and I wouldn't have to come back. So I did that. The nurse got back to me and said that the doctor didn't feel like we needed to test my progesterone levels at that time. So I left it alone. At this point, I already have an appointment scheduled with like the other doctor. I wasn't gonna make a fuss about it until I wanted to see what the second blood draw was. So the results came back, they were up, and the nurse called me and said that the doctor wanted me to go for a third blood draw and that he wanted me to schedule an ultrasound appointment. So, and he was gonna test my progesterone this time as well. So the nurse transferred me to the front desk or the receptionist so that I could schedule the ultrasound. The front desk was, asking the basic questions. When was my last cycle? All of that stuff. I told her, and she then started saying like, well, I don't know. At that point, I would have only been not even 6 weeks yet. And so she was saying, well, you won't even be 6 weeks at this time. I'm not sure what we'll even be able to see on the ultrasound. And then she started saying like, and he wants me, she was saying the doctor's name. I'm not gonna say the doctor's name. And he wants me to schedule you an ultrasound. Again, that's not my concern or my problem, right? I am not the doctor. I don't make the decisions on when I get an ultrasound. So I just felt like, this isn't a discussion for you to have with me. This is a discussion for you to have with the doctor or with the nurse, but probably with the doctor. not with me. So that kind of annoyed me, but I thought maybe she's just thinking out loud. I don't know. She was definitely asking me questions about, like, well, I don't know what we're going to be able to see. Are you sure he wants me to schedule the appointment for, are you sure he wants me to schedule an appointment now? Blah, blah, blah. So she schedules the appointment. And then a couple days later, the doctor sends me a message again on the system, and he tells me that, okay, my progesterone levels were good. They were 18, and my HCG levels were in the 2000s, like close to 3000. And so he was gonna see me on my next appointment when I came for the ultrasound. So I went for the ultrasound, and it was fine. The appointment went fine. They were able to see the yolk sac. Everything was fine. However, the doctor, he just was saying he was more confident acting about the pregnancy during this time, but he was still like reluctant to run certain tests that I was asking for, which was really just, it was 2 or 3 protein tests that I was asking about, because with the other pregnancies, there was still never any determination as to why I lost those pregnancies. No one ever knew why. And he didn't want to. He didn't want to run them. So that was that. I wasn't going to be having another appointment scheduled with him before my appointment with the other doctor. So I left it alone because I already knew I wasn't going to stay with him. And at that point in a pregnancy, there's not really much that could be done. If you're going to lose the baby, then you're going to lose it. And there's not really anything that could be done about that, as far as I'm aware. The main reason then why I did not continue on with him is not actually because he wasn't confident about the pregnancy, right? I wasn't even confident about the pregnancy, and I appreciate honesty in my doctors. However, I expect them to treat each of my pregnancies as if it's going to be a healthy, viable pregnancy, not like they are waiting for me to miscarry. And that's how I felt before the last blood draw and the first ultrasound. So those two first blood draws, during that time period, I really felt like he was just waiting for me to miscarry. Not necessarily because he wanted me to, just because I had 3 other pregnancies that all ended very early in the pregnancy. And he thought that would probably be the case again. And that's not the kind of doctor that I want to work with. I don't want to work with someone that doesn't want to try until they see, that things are looking good. I want them to try regardless and see what happens then. So that's why I switched doctors, and I'm very happy with the doctors that I have. I don't have to ask them to run tests. If there's something that I'm concerned about, then we address it. If there's a test that I do want them to run, which there has been the protein test. I did ask about that, and they ran them and they were normal. So there still is no, there's still no finalization. We still don't actually know why the other pregnancies ended. And that may just have to be okay with me. But I do want people to just go with your gut. If you don't think the doctor's for you, for whatever reason, whatever that reason is, then don't keep them. There's other doctors, and you should feel free to explore your options in regards to that. For whatever the reason is, it doesn't matter. As long as it mostly matters if you're comfortable with them, if this is the doctor that you want to work with. for whatever time period, not necessarily just for pregnancy, but just in general. So I'm really happy that I did not wait and longer than I did. I'm happy that I saw that I didn't feel that things were gonna work out between the two of us, so that we were gonna be a good doctor-patient match. And so I moved on, and I'm happy I did. And so I hope that you all will do the same. I didn't even finish folding these clothes, so I'm gonna finish that now. However, I expect them to treat each of my pregnancies as if it's going to be a healthy, viable pregnancy, not like they are waiting for me to miscarry. And that's how I felt before the last blood draw and the first ultrasound. So those two first blood draws, during that time period, I really felt like he was just waiting for me to miscarry. Not necessarily because he wanted me to, just because I had 3 other pregnancies that all ended very early in the pregnancy. And he thought that that would probably be the case again. And that's not the kind of doctor that I want to work with. I don't want to work with someone that doesn't want to try until they see, that things are looking good. I want them to try regardless and see what happens then. So that's why I switched doctors, and I'm very happy with the doctors that I have. If there's something that I'm concerned about, then we address it. If there's a test that I do want them to run, which there has been the protein test. I did ask about that, and they ran them and they were normal. So there still is no there's still no finalization. We still don't actually know why the other pregnancies ended. And that may just have to be okay with me. But I do want people to just go with your gut. If you don't think the doctor's for you, for whatever reason, whatever that reason is, then don't keep them. There's other doctors, and you should feel free to explore your options in regards to that, for whatever the reason is. Not necessarily just for pregnancy, but just in general. So I'm really happy that I did not wait and longer than I did. I'm happy that I saw that I didn't feel that things were gonna work out between the two of us, so that we were gonna be a good doctor-patient match. And so I moved on, and I'm happy I did. And so I hope that you all will do the same. I didn't even finish folding these clothes, so I'm gonna finish that now.